Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to a very special bonus episode. This bonus episode is on the topic of the Scrum Master Journey, and our guest is Marc Löffler. Hi Marc, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome to this new episode. I'm looking forward to what is happening today.
Absolutely. Marc's got a lot of episodes here on the podcast, so you can go back and listen to those. And he has his own podcast, Passionate Teams, which I'll put the link on the show notes for you to go and check out. He's not only hosting a podcast, he also has a blog, and he's written 2 books, and all of this while working full-time as a consultant, a speaker, and a trainer. Wow, Marc, how can you do all of that?
That's a good question. It's all about focus, I think, right? To find out. I have a big personal Kanban board on my wall, and then it's all about focus, and then it works.
So you're a good Scrum Master to yourself, I
guess.
Yes. That's actually a very hard thing to do, right? Like the in the cobbler's house, the kids have no shoes is a common saying. Anyway, so we're here to talk about the Scrum Master Journey, and as the name implies, it's not something you do, and then it's done. It's something that continues. It's something that evolves. And we were talking about in the first episode, we'll put the link on the show notes. In the first episode of this Scrum Master Journey topic, we were talking about how the CSM course is a little bit like a driver's license, right? Mm-hmm. Like you get the driver's license and then you go on to the road. But of course, it's when you start driving that you actually learn how to drive, right?
Yeah. So the Scrum Master Journey starts exactly there. It picks you up after your 2 or 3 day Scrum Master trainee. And then somebody is sitting at the seat beneath you at the driver. You're sitting in the driver's seat, and the Scrum Master Journey is sitting just besides you, and then helping you, guiding you, leading you through your journey as a Scrum Master.
Absolutely. So if you want to know a lot more, you can listen to the previous episodes. The links are in the show notes, but also you can go to scrummaster-journey.com, and also a quick and easy link is also scrummastertoolbox.org/SMJ. Today we're going to talk about a lot of the stories of people that went through this Scrum Master Journey with Marc already before. And it's very important to understand this so that we understand the importance of giving ourselves the opportunity to go on that journey. There are many ways to go on that journey. I mean, we'll talk about some of those. A very common and easy way is to join a local meetup, right? Mm-hmm. It's to participate actively in your local Agile and Scrum Master community. And Marc started his own journey way back when. When was the first Scrum training or Agile training you had, Marc?
I think 2005 or 2006, something around there.
Yeah, about the same time as I did. And of course, the journey has brought us quite far. It's been over a decade here for both of us. What other things have you learned, Marc, with your own experience about how to foster that journey, how to maybe convince yourself that the journey is there, that it's not just you go to a course and then but also to support that journey? What did you do?
For me, my first, so I was always already doing Scrum for 1 or 2 years, and then I attended my first Scrum Master training. And I think the first Scrum Master training was like, okay, somebody opened my eyes for all the things I did wrong the last 2 years. Like I was still assigning tasks to people and stuff like that. So of course, we all these things. And I was quite a Scrum dogmatic in the beginning. Like you have to do exactly Scrum like here written in the book, otherwise it doesn't work. And I still believe this is not the wrong thing to do, especially when maybe you know this Shuhari model, right? If you're still in the learning mode and you don't know how to do it, I think it's important maybe just to do maybe what the master is saying you in the first step. But what I learned through my journey is that the most important part, and it doesn't matter what method, tool, whatever you're using, are the humans in your team. And to create an environment where people can do a great job. And this is, from my point of view, still the most important task of a Scrum Master. And for me, also, the Scrum Master is not bound to Scrum. I think people who do a great job as a Scrum Master and go through some certain education, like how to mentor, how to coach, how to facilitate, how to work with people, I think these people will have no problem at all to find jobs in other areas too, because change is everywhere. And to have people like Scrum Masters to know how to cope with change and how to set up teams who can cope with change is a skill you will need also in 10 to 20 years.
Yeah. And the more we go into the future, the more that becomes important. Because, of course, if we look at history, many, many years ago, a single person alone in their workshop could do a lot of things.
Yes, sure.
Right? Like, we all know the genius of history, like Michelangelo, Da Vinci, and some others. But at the end of the day, once the complexity of society grows, the complexity of the products we use grows, you need a lot of people. And in order to make those businesses succeed, of course, setting up teams for success is a critical skill.
Yeah, just to think about, and you don't have to go back in time so far. Just go into the 1980s, right? When I had a Commodore C64, where just one developer did everything: graphics, the programming, the sound, right? This is not possible anymore. Just think about the games you have now out, like, for example, what is it? Cyberpunk 2077, for example, which is a huge game. This is not possible just with one person, right? But in the past, I played games done by one person.
Yeah, absolutely. We're that old, right, Marc?
Yeah. We're that old already.
Yes, we are that old already, but proud of it and happy about it, because that also means we got a lot of experience and a lot of stories to share, which is exactly what we will do here today, because many people have gone through this Scrum Master Journey, and Marc hosts Marc's Scrum Master Journey, which is a community, a group of people that share their experiences, learn from each other, have face-to-face as well as virtual meetups. So let's talk about some of those stories. As we finished the previous episode, by the way, the link will be on the show notes, you shared the story that I think is really important to repeat here, because it's an incredibly important story of transformation. Can you share that story quickly again, Marc?
Yeah, so my favorite story is, so we have about 3 or 4 people who already switched jobs. And one story is especially interesting for me. This was one guy and who really was low energy, working in a big corporation. You could really see in the eyes, he was really, how to say it? I don't find the right word in English, but he was really down, right? Burnout and stuff like that. And through the journey, he really learned a lot about himself, what he wants to be as a Scrum Master, what are the values that are important to him. He used the community in the Scrum Master Journey to prepare for interviews and stuff like that. And now I think in 1st of March, he will start a new job in a smaller company that is agile, that is exactly the right place for a great Scrum Master. Instead of sitting in the corporation where nobody really, they are doing more Me Too agile and just having Scrum Masters because they have to have Scrum Masters, but you can't really do a great job.
Yeah, for me, that story is incredibly important, because many of us have found the Scrum Master role perhaps by accident, not necessarily because we looked for it. But once we found it, we don't want to go back. We don't want to lose the value, the precious value, both for others around us as well as for ourselves, that we got from that experience. So let's go through this. What was it in the Scrum Master Journey that you host that helped him go through that transformation?
I think first part was that especially the first journey in the Scrum Master Journey is about finding yourself. It's really about finding out who you are, what are your values, do my values resonate with the values in the company, what areas do I have to improve, right? So I have some Scrum Master competencies that I define. So to look at these competencies to see where I'm really good at, maybe where are the areas I have to improve still. And so this was the first step. And the second step, I think, and this is also the feedback I get a lot, is the community. So this is something, I can talk to anybody in the Scrum Master community, all of them will say the community is one of the biggest assets, the coolest things. We met last November in person. It was really cool. So it's really, we have now a strong core. Of course, some people are more lazy than others. Of course, there are other things to do. but we have a really cool core of people helping each other a lot. And I think that's one of the biggest cool things about the Scrum Master journey. So it's not over after you did all of these courses and went through your handouts. You still have people you can talk to anytime.
And I think that's one of the key aspects, right? Like we are not alone. And through this Scrum Master Journey community,
Right.
we can go back, we can ask questions, we can become part of something that is bigger, and we can find people that are like-minded that can help us when we all have moments of difficulty, moments of failure. And as we usually do here on Mondays on the podcast, we talk about failures. And we do that because we want exactly to give that impression that everybody goes through those failures. It's a natural and predictable part of our journey as Scrum Masters.
That's also why I like the coach camps we have all over Europe, right? Where you don't have to explain or convince people that Agile and Scrum is a cool thing, right? So they already know, and they're walking in the same shoes. Maybe they had the same situations than you, and this is really cool.
So, of course, one of the aspects of that story that you just shared, the great transformation story, is how to find jobs and how to actually be good at those interviews. And I think that's an important part, that once you get out of the CSM course, the Certified Scrum Master, or the PSM, the Professional Scrum Master course, or any other course for Scrum Masters, you're not really ready to ace interviews for Scrum Masters, right? Like you know the details, right? You know the checklist, you know the multiple choice answers, but you don't really know how to ask the right questions, how to dig deeper into why a certain question is being asked, and that's critical. And also, as you said, how to ask questions that help you understand what's the culture in the company that you're interviewing for, right? So tell us a little bit more how you guys helped this particular person to find that new job, and then, of course, also prepare for the interview.
So one thing, of course, we share jobs in the community. So if we find a new Scrum Master job somewhere, then of course we share it in our Slack channel. Hey, there's a new cool job coming up. Let's go in there and have a look if this is something for you. Maybe it's close to where you live is one part, of course. Then sharing what is happening with the other people when you apply for jobs in Slack is cool, and everybody's cheering and helping you and supporting you, what you're doing. And I think the coolest thing for him was that the meetup in November, we just did a walk through the woods, right? 3 or 4 people. He was more or less in the middle asking questions, and all of the other people were just telling them, okay, what are typical questions that are asked to an interview? What questions I would ask? What is important? But also important, don't forget about yourself, because that you don't apply for a job only. The job is also applying to you, right? So the company tries to get a great Scrum Master. So you can also, you're open and free to ask questions to the company too, because they are applying to you too, right? How do they understand the job as a Scrum Master? Does this fit together with what your understanding as a Scrum Master is, and how you want, what you want to become in the future, for example? It's really important. Is this a full-time role? Is this something maybe somebody just do in a part-time, which is already alarm clock belling right loud?
Yeah. Are you supposed to be a Scrum Master, a manager, a PO, and some bunch of other things at the same time?
Or we need a Scrum Master for 5 teams and stuff like that, right? This is already a lot of bells are ringing.
Exactly. The bells that should ring, the lights that should go on.
Because then you just go from a bad job to an even worse job, and this doesn't help, right? This is also important. This, I think, helped them a lot to understand for what company he should search, what should he ask in this interview. And I think this was one of the things. The other thing the Scrum Master helps is, I think, what you don't find anywhere else yet is the Scrum Master journey has a high focus on humans and how to talk, handle, whatsoever, work with people. And I think this is nothing you get in any of the Scrum Master classes out there, even if you go for, what is it now, Scrum Master Advanced and Scrum Master Professional, and what they have. And we have a strong focus on humans in the Scrum Master community. And I think this is something you don't find anything anywhere else.
I think that focus on humans is a very important aspect, because we need to grow as people and we need to learn how to work with people. Many of us come from an engineering background or project management background, and those things are not things we learn in the basic training that we get. So what are some of the things that you guys go through in the Scrum Master Journey that helps you understand how to work with people, how to take them into account, how to help them develop in the end?
Mm-hmm. And for example, one of the things that also come from my passion model, which is also one part of the Scrum Master Journey, is strengths orientation. Really find out about the strengths of people, right? And then doing strengths oriented coaching with the people, right? That they really get into their strengths and develop their strengths even more is one of the things which is really important. To really learn about the person and where do they want to head. And then as a Scrum Master, be one of the, sometimes even like a mentor, right? How to help people in your team to become the person they want to become in the future. I think this is one of the aspects we see in the Scrum Master Journey.
And that's a great transformation for many of us as Scrum Masters. I mean, I know that because of the podcast, I interview a lot of Scrum Masters every year. And one of the things that really gets them excited about their new role is the idea that they are working with people. It's no longer about either code or reports or testing or whatever it might be that they were doing before, but it's about helping people succeed. And that's a very natural motivational aspect of the Scrum Master role, but it's also an aspect that we don't learn at school unless we went to psychology school.
Yeah, somehow.
So what do you guys go through? What are the topics that you review in the Scrum Master Journey with your students? And of course, also in the meetups and the face-to-face meetings. What do you go through to help focus on this people aspect?
So yeah, lot of things we are doing. Like, what are you doing when you join a new team, for example? Is a question we get a lot. How can I cope with a certain situation for the next retrospective? Is something we are talking a lot. Or I have this one team member who's really difficult. What can I do? How can we move along with him or her? Is something we are talking in this Scrum Master Journey. Of course, the cultural aspects are a big topic because culture also, as there's also this thing, a certain culture attracts certain people, right? So sometimes you have to, maybe you are the only one in the whole company who's maybe different and doesn't really adhere to the culture you have there. So how to cope with this different people with a different mindset, for example, is something we get a lot. And I think these are maybe the first things that come to my head when I think about it.
And all of this is part of the Scrum Master Journey because as you described now in quite a lot of detail, it is about getting us to be better Scrum Masters, about getting to be experts on what it is to be a Scrum Master. Outline the main topics. For those of you who didn't listen to last week's episode, outline for us the main topics we go through in the Scrum Master Journey with you. Yeah,
so the big topics is, number one is really finding yourself. What are you as a Scrum Master? What are your values? Where are you at and stuff like that? This is the first journey. Because this is missing in everywhere. Yeah, that the team is in focus, but the Scrum Master and his role is lost somehow. I think it's important to reflect on yourself first. Second journey is then about culture, understanding culture, changing culture. Third step is about self-organization. We, in the last episode, we talked extensively about this. There's even more stuff you can do here. Fourth is again then the human focus on the people, how to get the potential for everyone. How can you really help people to get to the full potential is number 4. And number 5 is then the topic about what does Agile leadership for you mean as a Scrum Master? And there will be a bonus in the future about how can you do a great job as a Scrum Master in a hybrid or remote setup.
Absolutely. And what can you expect? What can we expect as participants this Scrum Master Journey? How long will it last as we join it?
So there are people in the Scrum Master Journey who went through the whole journey within 4 weeks. There are other people who went through the journey of the course of a year. So it's really up to you. You can define your pace you want to do. So the videos in the course in between 5 and 50 minutes. So it's really easy just to watch a video, maybe when in your spare time, or maybe at lunchtime, or shortly before you leave the office, for example. Easy. There's for each journey, there is a handout with exercises which you can directly use in your environment, in your teams, and use your knowledge already, so that you can really bring it into practice. And it's not only theory. We have bi-weekly Q&A sessions where you can ask questions, where we have breakout sessions with the other participants just to talk to each other. I think it's quite important. And there will be community events throughout the year. At least once we meet in person, maybe more often is currently planned. And we have the Slack channel for asynchronous communication, ask a question, get support from others. So yeah, lots of stuff in the Scrum Master Journey.
Absolutely. And one thing I'm offering to all of the Scrum Master Journey participants is the ability to have a one-on-one coaching session. So if you're interested, contact Marc. Marc is your host in that Scrum Master Journey, and we will set it up. And that's a unique opportunity, by the way. You won't find that anywhere else. So how do we join, though? Like, what do we need to do? How do we get there? How do we become part of Marc's Scrum Master Journey?
It's easy, right? You just go to scrummaster-journey.com. You can get all the information again, and then you just click a button, sign up, and you're in. It's really easy.
Absolutely. And the course will open very shortly. If you're listening to this episode on the day it was published, it's only 2 more days. If you're listening to this in the future, hey, welcome. Hello from the past. Then it's already open. You can go to scrummaster-journey.com and you can sign up. If you have any questions, you can contact Marc or myself. The link to Marc's LinkedIn page is on the show notes. And why not ask him questions? Maybe he said something in this episode that sparked your curiosity, and you can find out more by getting in touch with him directly. Other than LinkedIn, Marc, where can we find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
LinkedIn, on my homepage, marclöffler.eu. Twitter is a place to go to get to know more about me. Of course, my podcast, which is unfortunately most episodes are in German, but I know there are some German listeners here. It's Passionate Scrum Master, so I changed the name of the podcast. It was Passionate Agile Teams, now it's Passionate Scrum Master. So it has a high Scrum Master focus now. Would be the place to go. And yeah, or just Google Marc Löffler. I'm the first hit, so you'll find me easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was part of that podcast, which was previously Passionate Teams and now Passionate Scrum Master. There's a lot of great content there. If you speak German, there's even more great content there, but there's also quite a lot of English episodes for you to take advantage of. So join Marc and the rest of the community in the scrummasterjourney.com. Grow as a Scrum Master, become an expert, and follow your dream. This is what this is all about. That's why I got started with this podcast, which hopefully is also helping out. So a big thank you, Marc, for putting this together and giving so much of your time, your knowledge, your experience to the community.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for letting me talk to your community. And that's also not a normal thing to do. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. So do get in touch and find out more about the Scrum Master Journey. Marc, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you, Asko. Have a great day.
All Scrum Masters go through a journey of learning and growth. Marc's extensive experience has given him firsthand practical knowledge of what it is to be a Scrum Master and a mentor to other Scrum Masters. Now you can take advantage of that experience by being part of the Scrum Master Journey program. You can join Marc and the whole Scrum Master Journey community at scrummaster-journey.com. That's Scrum Master, all one word, -journey.com. You can learn and get support in your own Scrum Master Journey with Marc Löffler and his community. Join now.